right now and we, want to work hard and strive for things, our career isn't going to go with us,
Mm.
when we leave. It's not a permanent thing. So that kind of helps me to like have a sober mind about what projects to take on and to not get too like caught up in wanting to have this perfect like portfolio.
93 gotta be.
What's going on, fam? It's your brother Lawrence here with another episode of Watch God Work. I am so excited to introduce my sister, our sister, your sister, Miss Alexis Eke. What's going on, Alexis?
I'm doing good. Everything's good.
Hey, yeah, so she got the Canada cool going right now, but y'all, who is Miss Alexis Eke?
Alexis Eke is an artist based here in Toronto. She's been doing professional art for about 2 years.
Hmm.
And she's been um, following Christ for about the same amount of time as well.
Oh wow, it's funny like when hearing you saying like professional, but fam, and people who stalk you a little bit online, they see 2016,
Oh,
that you know what I mean. You were dropping that
yeah.
fire, like so whether or not someone else affirmed what you were created. When did you get a sense? Right, clearly you talk about 2 years when professional, and maybe you're like, that's when I
Mhm.
got my first bag, right? But
Yeah.
when did you realize something divine got you? Like you had a gift that was beyond like
Yeah.
doodling, but like, oh wow, God, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
hmm Like it was, like it was, I think it was always around like my whole life, to be honest.
Mm.
Like like it was always a talent that naturally came out, and I
Mm.
think because with my mom being an artist herself, when she saw that I was gravitating towards the art, she basically became like my personal art teacher, and
Oh.
like she just taught me everything about sketching and all that stuff. So
Mm.
probably like in elementary school, to
Mm.
be honest.
When did you see it?
hmm
There's a mission in your art.
I think when I first started posting my artwork in like in 2016, 2017, like I kind of like became more aware that, like in Toronto, there's not many, black female designers. And I guess like the mission at first was, to kind of expand that representation of black female designers in Toronto.
Mm.
So that, younger girls with like myself, they could feel encouraged to actually like pursue that as a professional career because they feel, more seen and represented.
But even with this, I think
hmm
we talked offline even about how much you recognize the importance of how people view art and the messages that you're intentionally putting in art. Like, why did it matter this message about treatment and how people see people and treat people? When were you on the other end of not being treated well or seen well?
I think, like for me, I think it was, like in the past, how I treated, other people. That was the main thing. That
Mm.
was like, that's what made it so important to me because I was really, partial. Like I had like, lots of like favoritism and just like,
Mm.
preferring, people over another, and just being very like unforgiving as well.
Mm.
And the thing that like made me really take in how horrible that was, if like if because if like one person like made a mistake, like I would just be like completely done with them, like cut them off or whatever, and like that's pretty bad. But
Mm.
like if I'm treating people, in that way, and God, He doesn't treat me in that way of like counting all of my wrongs and like cutting me off if I make a mistake. Like, why am I treating people that way? So that's what like made me want to focus like with my art on like the treatment of people and like having that be a main point because it does reflect the state of your heart for the most part. So
Mm. So was that kind of the beginning of your faith
yeah.
journey? Could you describe a bit more about that?
I think it mainly started me and my mom and everything. I feel like it kind of started for the both of us around the same time, where we just, got exposed to a lot of, things that were going on in my family, like witchcraft and all that stuff. And that kind of exposed us to the fact that, there is a spiritual side to this world, and like it's very real. Being introduced to God after that, like, made me really take in that, with these, like, demonic things that are happening are very real, and like I'm seeing these things like go on with my own eyes, and how much more powerful and real is God, who's like above all those things. So that was the start of like just becoming more curious about it. I feel like that was the start of it, and then um, as time went on, I feel like then I was like really introduced and to God and everything like that.
Thank you for sharing that, because I think this is so powerful, because I think especially now, and you could kind of relate, I
Mm-hmm.
always find that, I think, in times for some people, that introduction to, let's say, just call the other side of the spirit war, right,
Yeah,
is oftentimes, for some people, oftentimes a great desperation, because you're looking for answers. And even whether they knew God or
yeah,
not, it's like, well, I need to look at Ouija board. I need to do these. I need
mm-hmm.
to figure out life, or I need the answers.
Yeah,
And so they look to whatever would give them some sense that someone understands them. And I think particularly these past year plus, people have been, feeling that uncertain and looking for answers. And I
mm-hmm.
think particularly your story, that is extremely, extremely powerful. When was that first instance where your work blew you away, right? Like where you were actually like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, all right. This
Yeah.
is not feeling. I'm not saying ego, but when was that first moment when you recognized this was bigger than you and your work blew yourself away? Tell us about that.
Mm-hmm. I think it was the piece I made in the beginning of 2020. Um, that was like the time like where I had fully surrendered my career to God, and that was the first like intentional piece I made for God, and like being like mindful of how am I making this piece of art to glorify God. And when I finished that piece, I was like really surprised at like how it turned out and everything. And just when I, posted it, seeing the response from that piece, and like even still to this day, like how that same piece I made like over a year ago is still being used. It's just like so like surprising to me, and just like it really just made me take in the power of obedience a lot with that piece.
What is your rhythm with God, and what does it look like for you to go into that place of creativity alongside
Hmm.
obviously your worship and your life and family? What does that look
Yeah,
like?
yeah. Like I'm mindful of not like completely separating the two. But like having, only focusing on work, and then, to only focus on God. I want to make sure that I can, combine the two in a way to where when I'm making my pieces, I'm always in the presence of God. And I think when it comes to making art and like to rendering, like our artwork and everything, I usually like think about, like how, we're living sacrifices, and that's that's our true worship. So when we're, surrendering our art or whatever that we're doing, like in a way, I see, making my art, that's another form of worship to God, because I'm already like sacrificing that to begin with. And um like I would just like um have a smooth like schedule, to be honest. Like I don't try to force myself to make a whole bunch of pieces like in a week or something like that. I don't want to, like force anything out.
I'm curious. I mean, I think because of just the mission you have, the very specific mission around women and around treatment of people and how people view people. do you have to go to a different headspace, or how does it work spiritually when, for example, you may be commissioned, like, NBA is like, yeah, we need you to do something for Vince Carter. You'd be like, he's a man, right? Like how do you
Yeah.
think about, or you got the Jordan joint, the Jordan, shout out to that collab, was dope, right? But
Mhm.
I saw the woman at the bottom of the
Yeah.
joint. So like, how do you think,
Yeah.
how do you navigate those things, right? Does it bring you to a different space? What's your
Mhm.
conversation with God? How does that look like for people who are curious?
Yeah. I think it's not as like complicated like as it may seem. The only like conversation I would have with God is just like, is this a project that you want me to do? And just like being in prayer, like making sure that this project doesn't go against his word, or uh, like it or if it becomes a project like where it's like I'm almost being like disobedient,
Mm,
because of the content of the project. That would be, like the only like type of conversation that I would have with God.
mm,
But projects like that don't focus on like women or anything like that. I think it's like pretty fun, to be honest, to just
mm.
like work on things like that are a little different too. So, uh, like it's usually just a fun like challenge for the most part, to be honest.
I wonder, at this stage of your career, how does God speak to you? Because I think for people who are hearing this,
Mm-hmm.
who may feel like this converse, there's aspects of the creative process that they feel like, I'm not creative. I don't know how God speaks to you.
Mm-hmm.
How has God spoken to you primarily? Even though we know God speaks in different ways, like what has that looked like
Mm-hmm.
when it's like, okay, I pray. What do you feel or sense or see, hear? What does it look like?
Yeah. I think the main one is obviously in his word. Like if a project comes about and it's very clear that it goes against the word of God, then I'm not gonna do it.
Break that down. Like
Um,
break that down. Give an example. So for people that are like, what does that mean?
like for example, like if there's a project about astrology or something,
Mm-hmm.
and wouldn't go on with the project.
Mm.
That would be an example.
Yeah, like how often does that happen? Obviously, because it takes faith, right, to be like, all right, I'm turning this
Mm-hmm.
down, and you're like, I got bills.
It's happened pretty frequently. Yeah, like I feel like it's probably like it wasn't as frequent in the past. I feel like in the past like year and a half, it's become a lot more frequent to have to turn a couple like projects down and everything. But
Mm,
I feel like what helps me to like be able to just say no, although it pays a lot, or it's like a good opportunity. The fact that that like although like we all like have a career right now, and we want to work hard and strive for things, our career isn't gonna go with us
mm,
when we leave here, and it's not a permanent thing. So that kind of helps me to like have a sober mind about what projects to take on, and to not get too like caught up in wanting to have this perfect like portfolio of
mm,
clients and everything, because it's like even this as well is also fading away, so
mm,
there's nothing to hold on to too tightly.
mm. It's such a refreshing perspective. We lose sight of this fact, right? That
Yeah.
none of this stuff is going with us.
Mhm.
That this is not everything. And I think it also leaves room and space to actually believe that whether you're doing is in faith and that God is with you, right? To say that, all right, God, if I'm doing this in faith and trusting that you will provide and that you will direct me and that another project will come. Because I think the natural question for so many people often is usually they have this picture of the starving artist, right? They're like, this artist is starving,
Yeah.
right? You know what I'm saying? Like they don't got nothing to eat, right? Like how did you think about provision and making sure that this is sustainable for you?
I think it's been more of day by day, like God just like show me the next step to take, basically. Try to remind myself that like since I'm here to glorify God towards every Christian, there is favor, there is favor on their life because they're here to glorify God. He's going to get the glory from our lives regardless of what happens.
But it's so freeing. At the end of the day, no matter what, God is going to get the glory from my life. He will get it. Alexis, this has been such a gift. I think with your Canada Cool, naturally, there's this picture of, what are the things that you want to get done in this time? Those things that you said, like, all right, I've done all of this. I have all these collaborations. What are something that you're looking forward to doing, or you feel like God is leading you, or you may have put an inkling? You don't have to share all of it. I know there's certain
Yeah.
secrets between you and God. You're about to. I was about to shut that down, Lawrence. Right? But what's something you could share that you feel like maybe it's an area of art or things that God may be leading you to that you want to get done in your time?
Um, well, I think with like particularly with the art, I feel like um maybe going into more traditional artwork like oil painting or animation even. I
Mm.
feel like those are like some areas. I feel like that I'm being led towards slowly bit by bit. um, and I think like I think with the mission overall, I feel like that like I think it's kind of stayed the same, but I definitely like feel like the mission is just gonna go deeper into evangelism and just hopefully like with the career that I have, that it could be a great way to even make disciples as well and use my art to spread the gospel and like again like for my art in some way to be a channel where people can learn about the gospel and be able to grow more in the word, to be able to make disciples basically. Like and I think it's just to have my life like completely like centered around Christ and the gospel. I feel like it like is the main mission for our work.
Our missions are submissions of the larger one.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was no better way, I think, for us to conclude this conversation. How do people best connect with you?
They can best connect with me on Instagram at Alexis.Eke. And it's the same username on YouTube, on Twitter as well. So, yeah.
Alexis, your work is a gift to the world, and I think, like you said, all of our goals is that every part of our life, everything that our hands touches, every word that we speak, every interaction that we have, everything a part of us, that we would be vessels fully filled of the Spirit in the presence and the person of God. Um, I believe that you're already making disciples through your work that some people may come to know, some people, but one makes it grow. We don't know what part of the process we're in, but we all contribute to the larger painting and portrait that God has been doing on earth. And so, God bless you. You are amazing. You have support and family here. And I look forward to us having another conversation soon. Perhaps at a show. We'll talk about that. We'll do that
Yeah,
one
for
day.
sure.
I look forward to it.
Yeah.
My sister, I love you
For
as a
sure.
sister. Thank you so much.